You boys got room for one more?
Or mark it. Mark next to it. Don't mark it, though.
Hello, once again, and welcome to the Missouri Sports Network, MissouriSportsNetwork.com, where everyone has a home field advantage. Certainly glad that you've tuned in today. We're live from the Pizza Ranch studio and presented, as always, by Central Bank of the Ozarks, Doak Propane, Great Southern Bank, Chevy Dealers of the Ozarks, the Missouri State Highway Patrol, Shelter Insurance, Liuna, Laborers Local 663, Building Missouri, and Building Missouri's Roads, and the Bank of Billings. We go to Gallatin High School now. We bring in first-year head coach at Gallatin, head football coach Chris Holt. Coach Holt, thanks so much for your time today. Coach, tell us first off a little bit about your team this year. You're 11-0 on the season, undefeated. First time back in a district title game, our first time winning a district title game since 2006. But tell us a little bit about your team and what makes them so special.
Well, I walked into a good situation. They were a pretty veteran group. So, it's a good and bad. We are a very senior heavy. So these guys have had a lot of experience, been playing a lot of football. We've done a philosophical change. They've been a spread program. And I kind of brought in, dusted off my old wing tee, single wing, which I've been doing for 2 years. So it just fit our kids so well. Defensively, we've really focused on trying to get way more physical. As the years gone on, we've seen those things. So we've been playing really good football. So hopefully we can keep going.
Coach, take us a little bit through your district there with Brookfield, Putnam County. Kind of take us through that, kind of give us a rundown there and wrap your district up in a bow.
Well, we had that ring game, which a lot of people in the state of Missouri dealt with. So when we had a second round of district, Brookfield came over. It goes down like top 5 worst nights of having to stand out in weather and coach ball in my long career. It was just a monsoon. We had our single wing stuff in because, there was no getting snaps from under center. The kicking game, it was just an absolute quagmire. We got off to a good start, and we found our footing. Standing in all that water, we kind of just 4-8 or something like that. Last week, Putnam County, good team this year. MU moved over from Marshall. He's done a great job with them. They were 7th in our conference, and they ended up losing to us and Trenton only. So it was a rematch game, and that gave his kids a lot of credit and him a lot of credit. They did not let the last game sit in their mind, and they played really good football.
Now you've got an East Buchanan coming up who's 11-1. Coach, what do you feel like is going to be kind of maybe the emphasis going into that East Buchanan game?
Well, you got to stop Trevor. Trevor, the running back, I was in the KCI conference for 6 years. East was one of our main rivals, so I'm really familiar with their program. And I can remember Trevor when he was in junior high. He was a load, and I'm like, this kid's going to something else. And he's a junior this year, and I'm pretty confident he was my player of the year last year in Class 1 because they champs. So, and they got good size and they got tremendous numbers. They have 63 kids out for football in Class 1. So, that's just an enormous amount of kids. And they're experienced, and they've been in these big games. This is new for our kids. So, we're going to have to rise to the occasion.
Coach, as you look at, you've got a lot of common opponents, I believe, with East Buchanan. You're kind of around that same area. Do you lean on some of that background with the opponents you've played? And they've played very similar scores. This looks like it could be a tremendous game.
Yeah, I think the wild card is the weather. We practiced in 2 inches of snow yesterday. It's not melted, so we'll be practicing in snow again today. Our athletic director's out there right now, the leaf blower, trying to blow some snow off our game field. So it's not forecasted to be above freezing, except on Thursday for a little bit, and then get real cold on Friday. And game time temperatures on Saturday will be low 30s with 20-mile-an-hour winds out of the north. So it is not going to be for your faint of the heart.
Hey, Coach, you got to love playing on Saturdays. This may be the first time all year that you've been able to play on a Saturday, but anytime you've played on a Saturday, it's typically late in the season and you're making a run.
Yeah, I've told our kids, we talked about this a lot of year. I said, guys, I've been very fortunate. I've been able to coach a lot of football games at other places, but I just told our kids, I said, there's nothing like playing high school football on Saturday afternoon. And I said, that's rarefied air because that means you're in the final eight. You don't get to do it any other time unless you're playing somebody that doesn't have a facility or something, that type of issue. But Saturdays, they're special. So we got 9 seniors. I just told them that you don't want this to be the only one you get to play, but be thankful that you still get to play at least one of them.
Again, we're visiting with Gallatin head football coach Chris Holtz here on High School Game Day, brought to you by Chevy Dealers of the Ozarks. And Coach, tell us a little bit about on Saturday at 4:00 when that final score comes up at scoreboardguy.net, and you guys are out on top. What is going to be that 1 or 2 stats that you're going to be able to point to and say this is why we won the game? We controlled this stat.
We tackled Trevor.
What are you looking for?
We tackled Trevor and forced him to try to throw the ball in adverse conditions. I think that's going to be key. They have tremendous size, offensive and defensive lines. We're probably about the only team this year that has decent size to probably stand in the trenches with them. Well, I really think that's where it's going to be won or lost, especially if our field dried out because it was still slippery sucker last week. And with all the snow we got on it this week, we could be playing in a muddy mess. So the offense and defensive lines are probably going to have a lot to say about how this thing turn out.
As you look over your schedule, is there a team that you've played this year that you can kind of compare East Buchanan with? I mean, to kind of make it more familiar to your kids. And East Buchanan is very good, but is there a team maybe that's very similar in their style?
Not really. Nobody that we've played. We just played anybody with the size that East Buchanan has on the offense and defensive line. Trenton was big, but Trenton don't have the speed that East Buck skill kids have. And there have been a ton of teams this year that's really tried to spread it out as much as East Buck. And not saying that East Buck's going to throw it around a lot. They spread you out to give the ball in space. That's kind of how they operate. Most of their passing games are timing based stuff. And like I said, interesting to see the game planning each squad on this one, because if you have not accounted for the conditions, you've done yourself a disservice all team.
Very good. So 1:00 kickoff there at Gallatin High School.
You bet.
All right. Well, Coach, I greatly appreciate you being generous with your time. And again, Coach Bouchard wanted me to reach out and make sure that I told you hello here on the air. Just got done visiting with him at MICDS, and wanted me to forward a message that you've done a great job up there. And of course, everyone across the state has seen that, in your first year turning that program around. But congratulations on a great season, and best of luck on Saturday.
All right, guys, appreciate it. I'll make sure to send Freddie text here as soon as I can.
All right, very good. Been visiting with Chris Holt, the head football coach at Gallatin High School here at the Missouri Sports Network, MissouriSportsNetwork.com, where everyone has a home field advantage. And as always, the Missouri State Highway Patrol reminds us to take that 3 seconds and buckle up. It's 3 seconds that could save your life. Be safe, be smart, and be here tomorrow.
Leave banking should make your life greater. It starts with affordable options to meet today's needs and tomorrow's dreams. From smart account options that fit your style to flexible loans for what comes next. It means convenient ways to access and manage your money whenever you need it and wherever you're headed. Most of all, it takes great support. Someone you can count on for trusted guidance and to be there for you every step of the way. Great options, great convenience, great support for life. Great Southern Bank, understanding what really matters.
Enjoy a fresh start to your meal at Pizza Ranch, where the salad bar is always included with your buffet. Every day you'll find garden fresh greens, colorful veggies, and sides for every appetite. It's the most refreshing way to balance out a meal while leaving plenty of room for your other buffet favorites. Convenient, fast, and fresh. It's the Pizza Ranch Salad Bar. Mmm.
I couldn't ask for a better agent, for a better company in a time like this, in a disaster where you have no idea where to start.
I learned that there's not a given in life. It takes a team. There's people that are going to watch out for us and that care.
It's been pretty stressful. Once we saw Lori and got our plan, it's a lot better now.
It was like a huge weight lifted.
Hey, welcome back to High School Game Day here on the Missouri Sports Network, MissouriSportsNetwork.com, where everyone has a home field advantage, presented by Central Bank of the Ozarks. And live from the Pizza Ranch studio, I'm Guy Newcomb, the scoreboard guy, alongside, and pleased to be joined now by CBC head football coach Scott Pengel. And Coach, thanks so much for your time today.
Hey, no problem. Thanks for having me.
You bet, Coach. A little known fact, Coach Pengel is the very first player ever at any level of the NCAA football to have more than 2,000 receiving yards. Accomplished that back in 1998, Coach, and that seems like a long time ago, doesn't it?
It does. And my body tells me the same thing.
Very good. Well, Coach, you guys 11-1 on the season. You're the defending state champions. First, talk a little bit about your game last week, a win over a good Marquette team.
Yeah, it was. They were very physical on both sides of the ball. We knew they would be, and it's kind of one of those things where I think through our experiences, kind of there will be no easy games at this late of the season. So we knew it was going to be a battle. They threw it around a little bit and had some good success throwing it around. We had a blocked field goal that kind of changed the momentum of the game. But, it was one of those things. Once we got rolling, we kind of ran the ball really well and stopped them when we had to. We buckled but didn't break.
Talk a little bit about that running game. I saw some stories about that with Jeremiah Love. Had a big game, and he talked a little bit about just the weather kind of dictating that I'm going to have to carry the ball more as we get into later in November.
Yeah, you always say you want to be able to stop the run and run the ball late in the year, and these last 2 weeks, I don't know how it's been down there, but it's been crazy up here. It's been wind. Last week was light wind and it was about 15 miles an hour. The week before was in the upper 20s. So, you definitely had to change what you're doing on the fly. And we got some good guys up front that we can try to run the ball. And we got 3 running backs, Jeremiah Love, Dylan Van, and Ralph Dixon, that we feel very comfortable that we can try to run it between the tackles with those guys.
Yeah, you mentioned that win 2 weeks ago. I was on the field and saw 5 punts for a total of 11 yards. It was crazy. And heading in to this this Saturday, you've got a familiar foe in Liberty North. Tell us a little bit about what you know about this team.
They're very similar to what we saw last year. They got a lot of guys returning, a lot of key guys returning, their quarterbacks returning, running backs returning. They're newer at the wideout spots, but doggone, they replaced them with some very talented guys. They're nasty up front on the offensive line. The right tackle's nobody to mess with. He's a dude. Defensively, they return everybody except for their 2 corners. So we know what they're about. They know what we're about. They got the number 9 Lassiter in the middle. That's just a horse, man. He's big. He's physical. He can get to the ball carrier. So, they play a unique defense, and they say, okay, my 3 up front and my middle backer can stop a lot of the run. And then we're going to umbrella the defense. And, their safeties are good on the back end. There's not a weak spot on their team right now I can't find.
Coach, and the travel, this game is going to be at Liberty North with the 4 teams that are remaining. It's a semifinal game, and not that CBC's not used to traveling. You guys have played in four different states this season. But what about the travel? What are your plans? You go up Friday night. What do the cadets do?
No, we're going to leave Saturday morning. We tried to push it back an hour, but they couldn't do it because they have a play going on or something up there. But it's one of those things where, I think you're right. We're fortunate enough. We've done this travel before. We played in Kansas City before. We played in Memphis before, and we do day trips. We kind of break it up a little bit. And, I think the only thing that's crazier about this one is the time we got to leave a little earlier than I typically like to. But, it is what it is. And then we'll be ready to play at 1 o'clock for sure.
And, Coach, as you look at the Final Four that are remaining, 2 Kansas City, 2 St. Louis, you're playing each other. You're going to Kansas City, and then Lee Summit North is going to DeSmet. What created that decision? Is that the mission decision, or I don't understand really why they would do that?
Yeah, it's a mission decision. What happens is there's 4 districts in our Class 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, and they just kind of rotate who plays in the semifinals each year. So it might be District 1 versus District 4 one year, then 2 and 3. Then next year it might be 1 and 3, 2 and 4. So every year the semifinals just kind of get rotated around by districts.
Yeah. And Coach, Saturday when that final score comes across, if CBC's on top, what are 1 or 2 statistical things that you're going to have to control, whether it be turnovers, penalties, something like that? What are a couple of things you're going to have to come out on top to win this game?
Well, I think the first word you said is key at any time this late in the year, turnovers. If we don't lose a turnover battle, I think we got a good chance. If we win the turnover battle, I think we got a great chance. But there's number 16. He's a slinger. He can sling it. He can find open guys. He can run himself. So I think I'm going to look at quarterback efficiency on his end. What's his all-purpose yards between throwing and running. So if we can kind of control 16, I think we got a chance. Not that they don't have other guys, but he's a guy that kind of gets everything going for him.
And again, we're visiting with CBC head football coach Scott Pengel. And Coach, have you looked at the weather? What's the forecast going to be in Kansas City on Saturday?
It says, it's going to be low 30s, but partly sunny or mostly sunny. So, that is one thing that I'm excited about is playing in daylight. We've done this, we played a couple Saturday games in the playoffs before. We went to Joplin. We've done this trip before. We went to Joplin one year in the playoffs on the Final Four. So we're kind of used to this trip. It's just I'm used to it. The guys here aren't. But I'm excited about playing on a Saturday. It kind of brings excitement to it. We haven't had a traditional season anyway, so we've only played 2 Friday night games at 7 p.m. So this is nothing new to play at an odd time for us. Outstanding.
Well, anytime you're playing on Saturday at this point of the season, you're making a run at a back-to-back state titles. And Coach, we certainly appreciate you being generous with your time here today. I know you guys have got coaches right now, they're doing, watching a lot of film, getting ready for travel and things like that. But thanks so much for just being generous with your time today.
No problem. Thanks for having me.
You bet. Coach Scott Pengel, CBC football, and they will be at Liberty North on Saturday.
Step into the new when you drive a Chevy. It's time for a fresh approach and a new perspective, and find the Chevy that's right for you. Find new experiences, find new roads. Chevrolet.
And welcome back to High School Game Day. Certainly glad you tuned in here. High School Game Day coming to you live from the Pizza Ranch studio. Pizza Ranch with 7 locations around the state of Missouri and about to be 8. And our studio sponsor here at the Missouri Sports Network, the MissouriSportsNetwork.com, where everyone has a home field advantage. Certainly glad that you tuned in today, and brought to you by Central Bank of the Ozarks. We go to the MICDS. High school football head coach Fred Bouchard, home of the Rams. Coach, thanks so much for your time today.
To be here. Thanks for inviting me. Yes.
Coach, 11-1 on the season. You're 30-3 over the past 3 seasons with 2 runner-up finishes in the state of Missouri. Tell us a little bit about your team this year and what you had to replace off of last year's state championship game team.
You know what? We really like our group of seniors. They've done a great job, and they've now year here, so they've kind of got accustomed to our system. And we've got a couple 3-year starters. Winston Moore, a super explosive athlete, Steve Hall, another first-team All-State running back from the last 2 seasons, and another one who's an offensive defensive lineman who started, on our first team here that lost in the state championship against Elias. So, we you know what, we feel really pretty good about our, we've been Class 4 the past 2 years, but because of the that Michigan applies to private schools, we got bumped up actually to Class 5. We're a Class 3 school, but we're competing at the Class 5 level. And when I saw I looked at it and thought, man, that is a pretty daunting district with Eureka West and Ladue and Chaminade and Parkway South. It felt like that was. I'm really pleased that we're sitting in the quarterfinals, having won a district championship against those quality.
Hey, you look at that game a week ago against Eureka, 34-14. One of the most talented running backs in the state of Missouri, and Kevin Emanuel in the backfield for Eureka. How did you game plan that, and tell us a little bit about that game and that final score?
He is an outstanding running back, and we obviously watched a lot of film on what he did. They're a team that's going to run the ball close to 85% of the time, and he's going to get 75% of it. Really became, this is the guy where the game sits. I saw our defensive coaches and our defensive players. We implemented a really good plan. I don't think you hold a guy like that in check, but you try to reduce the amount of damage. And then we got some outstanding plays on defense. We got a couple takeaways. Who's now a starting corner for us. He is our one kid that starts both sides of the ball. Caused a fumble early and recovered it. And then Cam Lester had his 8th interception of the year, Class 5. And then near the end of the third quarter, actually the last Reddick picked up a fumble and went 55 yards for a touchdown. And really that point was 21. It was 21-7. And that put us up, and that became that's going to be a tall order to score 3 touchdowns against us. We got some really nice plays from the defensive side of the ball, and then Winston and Steve just produced like they usually do. They do a good job, and the guys up front did a good ball control. Got off a couple play action passes, so I was really pleased with Brian Gould, our sophomore quarterback, who we all over for a 71-yard touchdown at the end of the first half. So those were that were made in the game. But Eureka has they have an outstanding team, and those kids are strong. They're big. When I shook hands after the game in the line, young man there. So we're again real pleased with that win.
Again, visiting with MICDS head football coach Fred Bouchard. And Coach, now you've got Cape Central in front of you. What do you know about this team coming out of Cape Central?
I just think anytime you're in the quarterfinals, you're playing a team that has some wherewithal. They've had, when we looked at that district early on, Jackson's down there, and Jackson's just had a great run for really the last decade, but the last 5 years has been really outstanding. Poplar Bluff ended up beating Jackson in the district. It's kind of an upset. And then Cape Central beat the team that beat Bluff in the championship. So we just feel like this is a pretty seasoned team. They're 9-3. They've caught some great momentum near the end of the year, which is always and they've really played a good stretch of football the last half of their football season games. Some of them overwhelming near the end of the regular season, but then in the district semis beating Oakville, the district championship beating Poplar Bluff. Those are two quality opponents. They're explosive. They have a nice sophomore running back. Thomas is really a good football player, and he makes up the majority of their explosive plays. But we think their quarterback is really decisive, both in running and passing the ball. He's a kid who's been, I think, a 3-year starter. So there's some good veteran, whether it's veteran leadership, just then, and then defensively, I got some guys up front that can really, they're aggressive. They play downhill really well. And it's been something to focus on this week to make sure that, if you let a couple of these terribly disruptive and they're, they got a running start on, whether it's a running back. And so we really are paying attention to, the kind of kids that athletes they've got to the ball that we better mitigate those, or it could be a long night for us Saturday afternoon. So,
Coach, is there a team on your schedule? Obviously, it's the first time you've played, Cape Central. Is there a team on your schedule over the past couple of seasons that they remind you of?
That's a great question, Guy. I would say that there's parallels in some ways with Eureka. I think Kevin Emanuel really, he picks up the majority of his yardage between the tackles. The Cape back there, Thomas, is going to pick up his yards, pick him up between the tackles, but the damage he can do. He's a state medalist in the 100 meter, and he's only a sophomore, so he's got some pretty good years in front of him. But to run in the ball, and then they can pull up and play action pass, and we saw Eureka quite a bit. So they're a run-first football team with the ability to throw. They really got to honor the run. And their other running back is a freshman. Is a really good football player who is a good counter explosive back. And then the quarterback comes up, and whether it's on an RPO or whether it's just in pass, you've honored the run so much that you really have to be aware that they can pop up athletes on the perimeter. So I would say, Eureka is one of those teams that, but also there's going to be always a nuances and difference between those.
Come Saturday at 4:00, if the Rams come out on top of this game, are you going to be able to point to maybe one or two stats where you feel like you won the game? Whether that's time possession or turnovers or penalties, or what are one or two stats that you're going to have to point at that you're going to have to control?
Well, let me give you a coach speak. Turnovers are always going to be a big one. Like ball over, if they turn the ball over, whoever is doing that, it diminishes that. I think we really have to watch penalties. We've broke these in the last few weeks, and ended up scoring some points against the. I can also draw to a handful of plays that we weren't keeping our. We pushed somebody on the back on an unnecessary block, so we're going to have to. We want to see what the penalties numbers are like, and some. This is the time of year where you get crews from different areas of the state, and some people areas of the state are like, yeah, we're going to let them play unless it's egregious. So, that's a little bit of in what we can control is those kind of, let's move our feet, let's get ourselves in good hands in and make sure that we're not, unnecessarily causing that there's a good chance. Outside of turnovers, that would be the area I really hope a vast improvement for the Rams.
Very good, Coach. Hey, I really appreciate getting to catch up with you, and it's I very appreciate just you being generous with your time. I know this is a very busy week for a lot of folks here in the state of Missouri. You've got football wrapping up, you've got basketball starting, you've got wrestling starting all at the same time. But I just want to say thank you so much for your time, and if you guys fortunate enough to come out on top Saturday, maybe we can give you a text and get you on the line and be a part of the football scoreboard show.
Hey, that'd be great, Guy. You know what? It's unlike back. We both know the time where you had your first round game in 5 days, down to game in 5 days, and then you had a semifinal round in 5 days. That timers feel like, man, man, we've got all kinds of time compared to what we used to have. Time, but it's certainly an energizing time. It's a time where there's around your players. These are things that they've shot for, and they're drawn on reserves. So this time of year, I think, be playing football in mid-November. So thanks for your school football in our state, and keep doing your good work, man. Appreciate it, guy.
You bet. Thanks, Coach. Couldn't do it without you. Hey, you're watching Missouri State. I'm sorry. The Missouri Sports Network here at MissouriSportsNetwork.com, where everyone has a home field advantage. And as always, the Missouri State Highway Patrol reminds us, take that 3 seconds and buckle up. It's 3 seconds that could save your life. Be safe, be smart, and be here tomorrow.
The innocence of youth. Is there anything any better? But soon they'll be in high school and facing all the same challenges you faced. How to make friends, how to fit in, how to be cool. We want our children to have everything they'll need to live fulfilling and productive lives. Make sure the kids in your family are among the more than 290,000 participants here in Missouri who take part in high school sports or activities.
Hello again, and welcome once again to High School Game Day here on the Missouri Sports Network, MissouriSportsNetwork.com, where everyone has a home field advantage. Coming to you live from the Pizza Ranch studio, and as always, presented by Central Bank of the Ozarks, Doak Propane, Chevy Dealers of the Ozarks, the Bank of Billings, established 1889, the oldest bank in Christian County, Liuna, local 663, Building, Missouri, and Building, Missouri Roads, and Great Southern Bank. We go to Smithville High School and home of head coach Jason Ambrosen. And Coach, thanks so much for your time today.
Enjoy sitting down and talking with you.
Coach, before we get into what you got coming up here, let's go back to last week against a Kearney team. Your only loss on the season was earlier this season to Kearney. Tell us a little bit about the differences between the two games.
I just think early in the year we weren't as good a football as we needed to be. You know, they've got a really good football team there. Coach Minnick does a great job with them. They've got a lot of fine athletes and turned the ball over a few times and got down and rallied. Actually, we were down. I think we were up 7-0. And then it was 7-7. Then we were down 4, came back and tied it to make it 14-14. They went up 20-21 or 20, and then went for 2, and we stopped them. Then we scored, and we went for 2, and then had about 58 seconds to a minute left. Tried an onside kick down, and then missed the field goal. So we ended up losing by 1. And what it came down to is they do, and we didn't play as well as we needed to, and had an opportunity to at that, and our kids really responded well.
Coach, as you go back and look at that game from then till now, what are some things you're doing really well? I mean, that's a 5-touchdown turnaround, between those two games. What are some things right now the Warriors are doing really well?
Well, in this game, we played really well. I mean, they got a 3-and-out. We kicked the ball to them. They got a big trick. They got a couple nice runs and were moving the ball and got down there, and then ran a trick play and scored and was up 7-0. And then they kick return, and then we just drove down the field and answered. And I felt like what we compared now compared to what we did in the beginning of the year. Number one is we're handling adversity and situation. And early in the year, I mean, we had a lot of new starters off of a team that the guys from last year, and so I don't think we understood our roles as well as we needed to. I don't think we needed to, and I think that there's just some growth that had to occur there, and we were fortunate that the kids really embraced that after forward and trying to get better, and how they practiced and how they prepared from that point on, and just being able to deal with adversity and run down the field and score, got to take that edge away. Then we're able to get a turnover and then be able to build on that. And so what we did well after that was played really good defense, then got to come into the lead. And by extending the lead, you take a team that likes to run the football and run the football very well, their game plan a little bit. And fortunately, that worked out for us, and we were able to create some more turnovers in that capacity. Anytime you can get in that situation, handle adversity real well, turn the tables on somebody successful, that's how it turned out.
Coach, now here you've got in week, I guess it'd be week 13, so to speak, quarterfinals. You know that you've got a team that's putting up over 50 points a game. You're allowing less than a touchdown a game. Talk a little bit about what you're going to have to do this week to kind of control center a little bit.
Well, I don't know. First of all, Brian's been an extremely great coach for a long period. It's respect for him and the job that he does. Their kids just play really tough. Then you throw on top of that, they have tremendous size and great speed. I don't know. We might be able to tackle them in a phone booth, maybe. I don't know. But they got some kids that run. They do a good job utilizing them and allowing their players to play. I think big things, not big plays. You know, we can't let them have 1 and 2 play drives. And I have a philosophy as a defense anyways, you know, get them on the ground and make sure that they run it again, because it is high school, 14 to 18-year-old young men. And so that's not always easy. Actually, you see that trouble with that on. So I think that's part of our philosophy that we always have, and I think it's going to be even average guys. I think, too, we've got to control the ball. We can't turn it over. We're not built to come, to throw the ball all over the place. We kind of like to mix it up, and so I think, you know, playing good defense and not giving up big plays. Obviously, if we can get some, but at the same time, when we're on offense, we've got to continue to do what we do, and that's control the tempo, not turn the ball over. And then obviously in the kicking game, kind of the same thing. Don't give up big plays, care of the situations so that you maintain possessions and play intelligent football. And that's ways, and I think we're just going to have to do a much better job of following our philosophy, the quality opponent.
And Coach, talk a little bit, you know, a great opportunity here. You've got this as a home game
Yes.
for you. Tell us a little bit about what that means to be able to play the quarterfinal game at home.
Well, I think it's big for a couple of reasons. Number one, it's our kids. We talk about that during the regular season. You know, people, is that important? And they talk about the playoffs or where it matters and so on and so forth. And I tell opportunity, one, we get to play the game of football is a blessing. And number two, every time you get to play it, where you're used to being here and having an opportunity for another home game. And so we think it's important to play here because we like it here. We like our community. We like being in front of. I think most importantly, this is our kids' home. And, you know, they wanted to work. And, you know, that was one of the first things they said, we got to go back to our place now. And I just think really for the type of kids that we have and how important it is to play on their turf. So those two things.
As you look at the weather, number one, there's nothing better than Saturday football, especially at this time of the year, because you know you're making a run. But you know, 1 o'clock in Smithville, it's going to be maybe mid-30s. What role does that play?
Zero, as far as I'm concerned. I actually Monday nights, I think the lights are more fun. You know, in high school, I think Saturdays are for the big boys and Fridays are for the little. Doesn't matter to me. Football's football. We played on Saturdays before. And we'll be fine about it. I like Fridays better, and it would have been even colder. I just think at this time to do what you have to do and doing it to the best of your ability. And if that's in 5 degrees, or snowing or freezing or the wind's blowing, you got to find a way to do it. So the nice thing about it is I think for both teams, we're going to have this kind of weather all week long to practice. It will be a lot lesser of a factor than it has been in the last couple of weeks for teams. And then last week the cold was cold because it was 80 the day before, 35, 15 mile an hour wind. that's tough on anybody, even us parts that, it doesn't bother. We'd rather wear shorts and go out and play. But kids handled it very well. And we always just talk about that being Warrior weather, and Warriors got to play no matter where it is. Our mindset, and I think Center's got a bunch of tough kids down there too. They're going to.
Hey, you bet. Well, Coach, as always, I greatly appreciate you being generous with your time today. I know it's a big week, and you're coming down here to the quarterfinal game, Saturday kickoff at 1:00 at Smithville, and we'll be paying attention if not there. But we appreciate your time today.
What you do for high school sports, I think any time that we can get out there and just perpetuate sports and the greatness of young people, because, and I'm going to stand on a soapbox, all we ever hear about in the world is the bad, the bad, the bad, the bad, the bad. Every time you turn on TV, we have great things than we've ever had done before. We have more people doing great things than we've ever seen before. Take your show and the things that you do to highlight kids, I think is out to some young people moving forward in the world. And the world's going to be a good place. You know why? Because we got great kids taking the time to help us highlight them. So thank you.
Hey, you bet, Coach. Couldn't do it without you. And best of luck. And hopefully we'll get to talk to you next week as well.
Sounds great, man.
You're watching High School Game Day here on the Missouri Sports Network. And as always, the Missouri State Highway Patrol remind us, take that 3 seconds and buckle up. It's 3 seconds that could save your life. Be safe, be smart, and be here tomorrow. Have a great day. God bless.
Step into the new when you drive a Chevy. It's time for a fresh approach and a new perspective. And find the Chevy that's right for you. Find new experiences, find new roads. Chevrolet.
Hey, welcome back to High School Game Day here on the Missouri Sports Network, MissouriSportsNetwork.com, where everyone has a home field advantage. Brought to you, or coming to you live from the Pizza Ranch studio. Pizza Ranch with more than 7 locations across the state, about to be 8, hosting the Quarterback Club, Tip-Off Club, coming up here in December. Also presented by Central Bank of the Ozarks, Doak Propane, Chevy Dealers of the Ozarks, Liuna, Local 663, building Missouri roads, Great Southern Bank, Shelter Insurance, Burgess and Associates, and Great Southern Bank. We welcome to High School Game Day Reese Spring Wolves head football coach, Andy McFarland. Coach McFarland, thanks for your time today.
Thank you for having me.
Coach, first off, coming off a 4-7 season a year ago, now you're 9-2. You're on your way to the state quarterfinals. Talk about this season and what you had to replace going into this season that you lost to graduation.
You know, every year it's a part of the game in high school football. You're going to lose some guys that were key to the success that you had and were leaders in the locker room as well. And for us, of course, last year was no different. We lost a couple guys that are playing college football right now, and that's Blaine Blevins, who was our center. He was a nose tackle for us on defense. He was our long snapper, and all three of those things are important pieces to any kind of success that you're going to have. And then we also had Evan Gross, who was our slot receiver and free safety. We lost our strong safety as well, and a couple other pieces here and there. And you know, we had some young guys step up, or some upperclassmen step into different roles. And you know, I couldn't be more proud of the leadership and the dedication that this current group of seniors, we have a big senior class, the dedication they've had to constantly improving and focusing on themselves. And I guess the proof is in the pudding, as they say. We've had a great year because of their leadership.
Yeah, and you know how playing in the Big 8 conference obviously prepares you well for a postseason run with the likes of Seneca and a Nevada team that was very good this year, won a district title there in Class 4. Seneca is still playing. Then you go into that week 9 there, and you get a Mount Vernon team that is young, but all those freshmen and sophomores are sophomores and juniors now at this point of the season. You get an overtime win there. Talk about how the conference kind of really prepares you for that district run and now into the quarterfinals.
Yeah, there's no weeks off in the Big Eight, and I think both sides were pretty strong this year. You know, the West overall had they've got more teams still playing, but you know, teams on our side of the conference that might not have advanced in district play doesn't mean it was an easy out playing those guys. Marshfield and Rogersville are always rough and tough, and they've got some very talented players. And you mentioned the Mount Vernon game. You know, you can't go through an experience like that. And I'd throw the Seneca game in there as well, which was kind of a shootout with let's see, about 8 minutes left in that game. It was 49-all, and we had a chance. They'd scored, and we had a chance to score, and just fell a little bit short. But you know, you can't go through those experiences without learning something about yourself as a team, and the players understanding that if they continue to do the little things right, no matter what happened last week or what happened last play, if they just focus on winning the next snap, they're going to put themselves in a position where they're going to have a chance to win the game at the end. And you know, we've had some guys step up in big situations and make one play when we needed them to make one play. And you know, I have felt like just looking at the big picture, that we have gone through some things. I mean, we've had some adversity. We've lost 2 games, so it's not like there's been a whole lot of terrible things happen to us, but we've had some adversity to overcome. And I feel like we've gone through things in a way that only have prepared us for more success. And you know, you hate to learn a lesson the hard way, but we had to do that in week 2 at Nevada, and it really allowed us to kind of take a step back and take a look at what we need to do better. And I think without that loss in week 2, I'm not sure we have 9 wins on the season. Our kids really dedicated themselves, like I said, to improving and focusing on the little things that will make the difference in an overtime game like the one we had in week 9. And so I'm thankful for everything we've been through this year. And I'm thankful that we don't play in a conference where, you know, we're going to blow everybody out and then start playing tough teams in district. Like, we've been through it all, and you can't play in close games the way that we have without developing a level of confidence that you know are going to need whenever you're playing tough opponents in the playoffs.
Well, just to that end, that week 9 game at Mount Vernon that went overtime, then you draw a very tough draw in the first round districts with the Cassville team. I had to come out and help you there. You get a touchdown victory, you know, and I know the weather, probably, I believe in that game, there was, the weather's been kind of bananas right now, with Mother Nature not knowing what she's going to do. But that really had to prepare you for that Cassville game.
Like Cassville, when we faced them, they were 5-5. And you could look at that from the outside. And at the time we had won 8 games, and we were 8-2, they were 5-5. And think, okay, well, this one's just going to be an easy out. And we're just going to show up and win the game. We knew going in it was going to be a battle. They've got some great players. They've got some great coaches. They had some guys that had been injured the previous couple of weeks that made it back for the game against us. And then, like you mentioned, we had other variables at play with the weather. We actually moved our kickoff up to 5 p.m. that night, and we still only got a quarter in. And Cassville had a 1st and goal from the 1-yard line, and lightning struck, and we had to go inside. And then we ended up not coming back out until Saturday afternoon. It was a weird way. There's no coin toss. There's no anything. It's the whistle blows, and it's goal line challenge. Here we go. But no, you throw that in the mix of things that we had to go through, and you got to deal with weather delays and the uncertainty that comes with that, and then packing up and going home and coming back the next day. Like, all of those things, I feel like you can't go through it without feeling like you're better prepared for anything. Just no matter what happens, we're going to be ready to go. And I'm proud of the way our guys have fought all year long, and we haven't just rolled people up and spit them out. We've had to earn everything that we got this year, and we've been able to do so.
And then a week ago, you get a good Osage team that comes in, and at this point, everybody that you're going to see is going to be good. That wouldn't be at this point of the season and playing on Saturdays if they didn't have some success. 35-6 there. What'd you feel like really went well in that game for the Wolves?
Well, going into that game, Osage had won 7 in a row. They were 7-3. They lost their first 3 weeks, and included in those losses were Pleasant Hill and Blair Oaks, so 2 really good teams. And then they won their next 7. And over that time, they averaged like 45 points a game. And they had 3 running backs and a quarterback that were all very talented runners. And they were running like a shotgun wing T type of thing where there's lots of misdirection and linemen pulling everywhere. And, it's a big task. And coming off the game against Cassville where we held them to a single score, and we showed up against Osage. We knew we were going to have our hands full defensively. They scored on their opening possession, and then we absolutely shut them down. And you talk about the story of the game. It was our defense playing so tough and giving the offense the ball with great field position all night long. And offense capitalized on that sometimes, and sometimes we kind of sputtered out here and there. But we made plays when we needed to, and it really started up front. Our defensive line has had an incredible year. Everybody has heard about Caden Weist, I think, the Missouri State commit. He's got a lot of attention, but we've got several other guys that we wouldn't have the success we have right now without them. Evan Crane, he's a defensive tackle for us. He was our conference defensive player of the year on the same team with Caden, which is a huge honor. And he's an interior D lineman. Right now he's got over 100 tackles, and that is not normal for those guys to have that many tackles. And it only happens when you have a guy that has a special motor. He's always running the ball. And that is something that has been I don't know. If I was watching film, it'd be intimidating to see. These guys don't stop, man. But we got Moses Barr next to him. He's a great big 6'5", 300-pound kid playing our nose tackle spot. Josh Lowe, who is new to our district. He came last winter. He played at Joplin, and he's a senior this year. He played for us. His dad's a wrestling coach at Reed Spring. And Josh has done a great job at defensive end. And our linebacker, everybody defensively has had great games over the last few weeks. And I couldn't be more proud of them. That would be the key to our success.
Going into this game, you've got Boonville coming up. Talk a little bit about the Pirates. You've got one like opponent on the season. You both have been able to really put the ball in the end zone. Maybe a shootout here. I don't know that it's going to be 49-49 in the fourth like it was with Seneca. But what do you know about Boonville, and what are you going to have to do to kind of slow them down?
Well, I think you talk about putting the ball in the air. It's going to be cold and windy on Saturday up in Boonville, Missouri. So that might have kind of in the Cassville game a similar impact. It might come down to who's able to control the line of scrimmage and run the ball well. And we're hoping that's us. Like I mentioned, that's been a strength for us this year is that offensive and defensive line. But Boonville, offensively, they're a spread team. And what they want to do is spread you out and hit you with little quick screens in the pass game, and then it's a whole lot of quarterback run game. They have a pretty dynamic kid that is very, very athletic. He's not very big, but he's really quick. And they do a lot of power read, counter read, zone read, quarterback ISO, quarterback sweep, and that's the name of the game for them. And he kind of drives that thing. And defensively, primarily they're a 4-3, 2 high team. They play quarters or cover 2. But the games that we've seen them kind of shift around. I think they're going to try to throw everything they can at us, and so we're going to be prepared on offense for any front. We've seen them all at this point of the season, but they play really hard. I think we're a little bit bigger than they are, but overall they've got athletes all over the field, and it's going to come down to, like I said, I think it's going to come down to who can control that line of scrimmage on both sides of the ball. And also I would throw in there, we spent a lot of times on special teams this week. Boonville is really aggressive, especially with their kickoff team. They're going to onside kick every time, and that adds another element of preparation to the game. And when you got a team that's doing things like that, anything can happen. So it's going to be a fun Saturday afternoon.
Coach, between now and then, when you get on the bus, when are you hoping to arrive at Boonville, and kind of give us your layout over the weekend?
Well, our community has been really fired up about this. The last time that a Reed Spring team played in the quarterfinals was 1980, and I wasn't born yet. So, so they have gone out and they got us a charter bus, and we're actually gonna. We're going to get out of school a little bit early on Friday, and we're going to have a practice here at our stadium. And then we're going to have a team meal and a speakers, what we normally do the day before the game. And we're going to get on the bus Friday afternoon and drive on up and stay in Columbia, and then get over to Boonville on Saturday morning and get ready to go. Kind of a normal pregame schedule, just happening a few hours earlier in the day. So that's the plan right now, to travel on Friday and be ready to go on Saturday. And that's anytime you are taking a group of teenagers on the road like that, it makes you a little bit nervous, but I'm confident in our guys' ability to stay prepared and make it kind of like a business trip and business. And like I said, it's another opportunity for us to go through a different experience and plan the travel and do all those things. And we're hoping that pays off, somewhere in the next couple rounds of the playoffs, that we may have to do that again. And so it's going to be a fun experience for all of us, I think.
You bet. Well, Coach, anytime you're playing on Saturday, November, you've had a tremendous season.
Absolutely.
And it's got to be a lot of fun. And I greatly appreciate you being generous with your time. I know there's a lot of things going on. And but one, congratulations and best of luck. And go out and get a win. And maybe we can have you on the scoreboard show on Saturday and you can tell us how you did it.
Sounds great. Yeah. Thank you for your coverage of high school sports. Go Wolves, man. Let's go get it.
You bet. You bet. Andy McFarland, Reed Spring Wolves head football coach, as they prepare to head to Boonville, Missouri, and take their 9-2 record on the road. You're watching the Missouri Sports Network at MissouriSportsNetwork.com, where everyone has a home field advantage. And as always, the Missouri State Highway Patrol reminds us to take that 3 seconds and buckle up. It's 3 seconds that could save your life. Be safe, be smart, and be here.